What is up, guys? Today I wanted to take a look at two different things, but they're both kind of smaller, both AD carry related, so we're going to stick them in the same video. We're going to be looking at the new Triforce on Ezreal, how it fits into a build, how good it is and why, but also some Caitlyn stuff because people at higher elo have started to play her a little bit differently now. Anyway, like this video if you did, dislike it if you didn't, but let's jump into Caitlyn first and look at Ezreal after. So there are two things with Caitlyn. The main thing is a new skill order now, but we'll also touch on the build kind of side of things to clear up the optimal builds. It has almost always been a max Q on Caitlyn, right? I don't really honestly remember a time where that was any different. Q is our wave clear, our way to trade, and our only damaging ability. Now, even though Q is still very popular, a lot of high elo players, including pro players, have started to max their traps, then Q afterwards. When she got this trap change to store them up now like charges, people did realize how much more valuable they were, but it wasn't until patch 6.4, which was kind of like late February time, the traps were changed to give a flat bonus damage per rank, not a percentage increase like before. There are actually a lot of different reasons why this works, like maxing our traps first. I've been trying this myself recently and I actually really like it. So at rank 5, it's going to be 5 traps that we can store. We can easily cut off a lane or a choke point around dragon and towers, making it basically impossible for them to engage properly. It was also changed a while ago to hit the people who stand on the traps from really far away with a headshot, which is kind of what we're going to rely on for the damage side of things. Now the damage is 190 rank 5 plus 70% total AD, and actually that is a lot of damage. It's not even just that either though, because that's on top of the normal headshot damage, which is 50% AD. Just to kind of show you, her Q is 190, so the same, but plus 170% AD, but only for the first target hit. For the ones afterwards, it's going to do about 127 and 114%. Basically, it's just hard to hit Q directly onto someone without hitting minions first. It's easier to trap line and get that extra damage, and it'll also be doing more. Actually, as well, something most people don't know is enemies marked by the trap who stand in it take full damage from the Q even if it passes through minions first. So that is actually a really nice thing to have extra. Basically, maxing our traps first turns into a headshot, a ton of increased headshot damage, a full damage Q, all from really far away and while they are rooted for 2 seconds. The problem is going to be like you have to get them to stand on it, right? But actually placing it cleverly in a fight more often than not makes them stand on it. You just auto and place a trap while waiting for the timer. The control aspect of this is really good, but the damage even is probably better in my opinion. The downside is just kind of a lack of wave clear if we don't max our Q. If we max our W in lane, we're going to be pushing and setting up a line of traps that are either forced to sit there at the tower then or take one of those big headshots from us. In team fights, you're going to be able to protect yourself a bit better, cut off ways into Dragon and Baron, and remember as well, we don't even want to be using our Q in team fights later into the game because it's less damage with the wind up than just standing there and auto attacking. So if we max our Q, it's literally just there for lane poke and wave clear, right? W is going to be a bit more useful in a team fight, same damage plus zone control and a root. Caitlyn has always had an amazing late game, right? Decent in lane, but kind of a crappy mid game, honestly. This is what we're trying to boost here and make better. Help her kind of get to that Terra late game and make her mid less crap. When I first heard about this, I was really skeptical because I was like, why would anyone step on my traps? I'm just going to avoid them. Actually though, trying this like and putting it into practice, placing them everywhere means it's really hard to avoid, and also it's hard for people to walk around them in the middle of the fight while they're going to be watching everything else. They're not really watching where they go. People massively underestimate how much damage is attached onto standing a trap because we're throwing everything else in there, and we can abuse that for now while it's not very well known. Now, not everyone is doing this though. Wave clear is important in some matchups, and against like a heavy pusher, Q could be better just because we keep the wave away from our turret. There are a few things to note though. So the W max does have a higher win rate, but much fewer games played. So it's kind of a decent indication, but not that accurate. So Reckless on Fnatic, for example, gets 3 points into Q, then maxes his W. Bit of both really, a wave clear early and then poke and zone. But someone like Sneaky, Freeze, Pilot in Korea, Steelback, they've all been maxing their W first, then Q afterwards in their recent games. I've tried both ways of these. It's not a massive difference, but I do really like maxing my W if I don't need the wave clear. And actually, just to point out as well, a few AD carries are still maxing their Q now, but it's just not as many. I just want to touch on the build side of things quickly before we move on to Ezreal. People ask a lot what order to get items in. Now, in general, Infinity Edge is very inefficient without a crit item because you aren't using the passive enough and you're kind of wasting gold on that. The ideal is you're going to get a BF sword for some AD, better farming, better trading, and then a Runan's Hurricane, then finish your BF into an IE. Double attack speed is the most common thing now, and I do still think it's the best options. Headshots provide extra damage, so more attack speed and crit strike means more headshots and more crits as well, which is perfect for us, kind of everything we want. Runan's first means our 3 bolts stack the passive up faster. Headshots are a big part of our auto damage. No, the extra bolts don't apply like AoE headshots, which will be broken, but they do stack it faster. Rapid fire cannon is normally always my second attack speed item of choice right now. Long range, better siege, poke, plus a bit of extra damage, which is always nice. With the Infinity Edge change this patch for more AD, it makes it slightly less bad to rush it. Nice for the AD Q kind of trap damage, I guess, but still think that actually stacking the headshot is the better way to go. Let's move on to Ezreal. Another question that I get asked a lot right now is Triforce good on Ezreal? Should we build it on him? And if so, when? And well, actually, I kind of think it depends on the game. Ezreal is one of my most played champions, and I've tested this a bunch, so this is kind of my experience plus some research too. The first thing is Triforce has a good win rate, but so does blue build, so both are working, and Career is opting way more for blue, even though Triforce is good there as well. These guys kind of refuse to build Triforce even when blue build wasn't meta, so I don't know. I think both are good. If we're going to get a Triforce though, we can't get the Iceborne because both are using machines, so we have to look at the difference. Iceborne, you get this slow. That's the biggest thing we're going to lose. A bit of extra mana, which is a bit more mirror mana damage when it transforms, and some armor, and it only costs 2,700 gold. Triforce, we get health, AD attack speed, the phage speed up, the same cooldown reduction, and the sheen. The spellblade proc is 200% base AD on Triforce and only 100% on Iceborne. Now that does cost an extra 1,000 gold, so basically it's like 250 health, 40 attack speed, 25 AD, 5% move speed, the phage passive, more sheen damage for that 1,000 gold. We're going to be losing the slow, bit of mana, armor, but all those stats on Triforce are things we can use. The way I thought about this when I was testing it out is if there was an item that had those stats and only cost 1,000 gold, I would definitely buy it. Plus, when we get a Blade the Ring King as well, the attack speed means more percentage damage, more gold value actually just from that item anyway. So on its own, it's going to be more damage, plus it's going to be better versus tanks with more attack speed. Attack speed is really hard to work into a normal blue build. You're kind of solely relying on your Q spam. Triforce has the same idea as blue build, except we're not going to be kiting, but still relying on our Q for most of the damage, but we have the backup attack speed, which is good with our blade. So there are a couple of things, okay? 1,000 gold more expensive, which is a lot. Part of what makes blue build so good is that it's really cheap. We get it earlier into the game, we spike earlier, and we have a very good mid game. Remember, this is a lot what Season 6 is about right now, why Ghostblade builds work. We also have no kite with this, which does hurt versus bruiser types. Pure tanks, you don't really need to kite, but others you're definitely going to. Now, Ezreal is not a late game AD carry this season with these huge crit builds flying around. He's not bad late game, but he's definitely not like one of the best. You are the strongest mid game, and it's just easier to abuse that kind of fact when you need less gold to get items. So for me, I just slot this into a normal blue build Ezreal, kick out the Iceborne and get a Triforce, but go tier into Triforce, then finish your mana immune afterwards. Triforce in lane is very good, like the sheen hurts a lot and you have a big spike in power which you can use, and this is really the thing. If you're going to go down this route, you still need to be strong mid game, hitting your two items basically at the same time. Triforce and mana immune is going to be way more damage than Iceborne and mana immune, plus we get a Blade the Ring King. With those two, it's going to be more damage, more autos, more percentage damage. Basically at 25 minutes, if we have these three versus a blue build, it's going to be better. If we're a bit behind or we're not that fed, then having Iceborne and the 3 items finish at 25 is better than having 2 items with Triforce and components of a third. That is my point. If you don't need to kite at all, are ahead and fed, then it's really good. If you're even though or behind, then I'm still getting my Iceborne at the moment. It's not really worth the risk. You need to get those items earlier to try and win before these late game picks really kick in. Also, I will say you're slightly more team reliant with a Triforce. You have higher potential damage output, but you can't just endlessly kite and carry no matter how bad your team is. Basically, to sum it up, Triforce if you're fed or you want to hard carry with more damage, but Iceborne is cheaper, so if you're even or behind or just want more utility for your team rather than damage, then that's going to be the best option. So that wraps up this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the deeper look into these two champions and their builds. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share, but for now, let's go to the robots.